Welcome, everybody, to the Manufacturing Vanguard podcast, also known as the MVP. This is our very first episode. It's sponsored by Veterans Metal here in Largo, Florida, and it's hosted by yours truly, Andrew.
And Randy.
That's right. What are we talking about in our podcast? Well, the reason why it's called Vanguard, we're looking at the cutting edge, the leading edge of manufacturing. So it'll be divided in two parts. First half of the podcast, 15 minutes, two topics of focusing on future manufacturing impacts. It could be on any topic as long as it impacts manufacturing and it's something to do with the future, not necessarily the past. The second half of the podcast is going to be interviewing someone who's providing cutting edge technology or hardware, new toys in the manufacturing world. And we have going to be our first interviewee later on the podcast from Steelhead Technologies, so we're looking forward to that. But first, we also want to focus on the fact that manufacturing is not about just making things with metal. It's also making things with liquid. And in this case, we have a local member of the Bay Area Manufacturing Association, which we are proud members of, called Masteries Brewing Company. They are in St. Pete Beach, Florida. And we kindly have a couple of their beers to try out during our podcast. Yeah, it's called Boca Ciega Bay Beer. It's an IPA. And some people don't realize manufacturing is anybody that makes something. Right. And in this case, they make a brew. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to crack these open. And we have our respective glasses as well. Mine is my son's from the Army. He's an active duty Army from the Big Red One. A shout out to the diehards there at the Big Red One. And Randy, you got your mug, but it's not labeled in any way, right?
No.
It's not a Navy mug, is it?
No, not a Navy mug.
All right. And you know what? Now, they say you shouldn't, you have to be careful with pouring. They say you should pour so you get all the foam out. So that way you're not gassy later.
No, that's true.
And that's the right way to do it. Otherwise, you get bloated if you drink all this beer without releasing all of this gas. And I love an IPA, so I'm looking forward to trying this out here. Yes, give that a shot. Yep, that's perfect. Awesome. Cheers. Cheers. All right. Can I try some?
Sure.
I like that. And we're going to continue to have that during our podcast. So we're going to enjoy that quite a bit. And then our halfway point, by the way, we'll mention more about where to find Masteries Brewing Company, a little bit about them as well. The owners out there is Matthew and Diane Dom. So we'll be mentioning their site halfway through the podcast. So what are our topics, Randy? We're going to first talk about something everybody's talking about right now is cyber warfare, cyber compliance. There's a lot of talk in manufacturing about having to get cyber certification.
Yeah, it's very scary nowadays.
It is.
You always hear something on the news about cybersecurity.
Yeah, one of the
threats.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things that we found out through our producer Christina is a company called Optimus. They deal in cyber security intelligence. They mostly focus on the Fortune 100 to 500 companies. They also focus on governments, but they have a great report on the cyber threats that happened in 2023. Anybody out there, I encourage you to download and read the report. What was interesting about the report is in manufacturing, 11% of the manufacturers in the states that have been surveyed, they're operating with end of life or end of service operating systems. So in other words, they have no patches, no opportunity to get anything fixed.
So because they're still on Windows 7.
Yes. Yeah, they're probably in AOL 1.0, stuff like that.
That's inviting an attack.
It's very, very, very scary.
Yes.
And then the other thing that was really interesting to me is that just last year alone, they had 65,000 documented cases of cyber attacks, which is crazy. What's amazing is that the fact that it went up 104% last year compared to the year before, right? So it doubled, and they're expecting that to continue. And then the target nations that are hitting us is Russia and China.
Exactly.
And
there's so much about that too.
And they focus on manufacturing, education, and utilities and infrastructure.
Plus political.
And political as well. Yeah. But we're in that list of targets. And so that's really, really scary.
Well, it's very scary because we produce parts for the DoD.
Yeah.
So defense industry, space. We don't want someone else taking our information.
No. But what I'm concerned about is the fact is, and I can give you an example in the state of Florida, is that we have 25,000 manufacturers in the state of Florida. 80% of them are 20 employees or less. My concern is this compliancy that's going to be coming down the road is the price point. Are companies like small businesses going to be able to afford the price? Just the gap analysis alone, on average, is somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 just to do the gap analysis, and that's not getting the certification, right?
Wow.
So, and then on top of that, the cost in having to buy what the analysis said you have a gap in, right? So if you have to buy new hardware, new software, new services, so that's my big concern.
And they could always tell you that you need to buy something.
Yes.
Who's coming out?
Yeah, who's coming out to tell you, right? No, I agree with you. I think there is I mean, it's well intended to have everybody cyber certified, especially with controlled unclassified information, which is referred to as CUI. My concern is is this going to kill small businesses because of the price point, right? And having to be in compliance. How do you handle the certification process and pay for it? That's my concern. Hopefully, what I'm hoping to see is initiatives at the state and federal level that provides grant for this initial startup, because really it's going to be an initial requirement. There should be some funding to help pay for it.
And honestly, it's for our nation and it's for security in general. So it shouldn't really be a price point that everyone needs to get.
Yeah.
We should have a .gov or some other website that's available that we could use for maybe a small fee.
I agree. I think having, we have cloud.gov, it exists, but the concern, of course, has to do a lot with the email and traffic, right? Information, people sending drawings to each other over the email and things like that.
Well, you shouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Yeah. So, but how do you do that in a cost-effective way, right? Without having to stand up a server in your shop that costs thousands of dollars, or even as a SaaS, software as a service type provider. Some of those monthly subscriptions could be very expensive, but all this talks about cost, money, money, money. And what I'm hoping is, apart from coming up with the rules of being cyber certified, they come up with the means of being able to pay for it, right? And so hopefully what I'm looking for as a manufacturer, what we're looking for is sharing in that burden in some way, and not just leaving it at the individual small business owner to have to foot the bill. So maybe there could be some sort of consortium, or partially state funded, partially federal funded, where everybody's pitching in. But that's my big concern, is how are we going, they could do this from one day to the next, Randy, and then say, hey, you've got to next quarter be cyber certified. This cost is I think, a concern.
And it would be very expensive for someone who's not running up-to-date systems.
Yes. Or, we consider that a lot of these shops are pre-internet, pre-cell phone when they started, multi-generational companies, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. Some of them are still operating with pencil and paper, right? And so then you got the other end of the spectrum of, if you want to be competitive and insource some of the manufacturing, you need to modernize. But it's like a damn if you do, damn if you do in this situation, right? So if you modernize and digitize, then you have to be worried about being cyber compliant, right? But if you don't have to worry about it. But then again, you're not maximizing your efficiency to be competitive, right? So it's kind of a catch-22, right? But hopefully they'll continue to work on it. We're going to talk about this some more. We're going to eventually invite somebody later on in one of our podcasts that focuses on cyber certification and cyber compliancy, and talk about some of these concerns that we have and other manufacturers have. So what was the other topic? We got another topic that we're going to talk about?
We do. So we wanted to talk about the new Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty cool.
So it's digital spatial computing.
Oh, nice.
And now how we can use this in manufacturing. So right now, looking at it as a geek, I would love to have this thing, but I can't justify the price point and actually get into this.
How much is it costing now?
So the no frills, just the regular version, is $3,500.
$3,500. Oh, wow.
At least that's what I've seen on their site. Now, I didn't actually try to price it out and see exactly what's in it.
And how does this work, and how could we apply it to manufacturing, you think?
Well, I have not used it myself, but what I've seen, and I love watching the videos when people are walking by with this big headset on, and everyone's just kind of staring at them. They're just doing their thing, whatever they're doing with that. It's funny.
What it'd be? I think from what I understand is, when you're using it, you actually can see the environment you're in still, right?
Yes.
And so I think from a manufacturing perspective, what's cool is what Elon Musk is doing with the Optimus, the new Tesla bot, right? It's a robot. It's a humanoid robot, and the price point for the initial prototype is like 20 grand, which I don't think is very expensive for a robot. To be honest with you. But I could see maybe integrating the Vision Pro with the robot, because the reason why he's focused on the robot is so robots can do dangerous tasks. And in manufacturing, we deal with a lot of dangerous equipment. We deal with a lot of dangerous chemicals. I could see us doing things where they're wearing the goggles in a safe office environment, yet they're in the shop and they see the shop, but the robot is actually doing all the physical aspects of it, dealing with the dangerous chemicals, dealing with the dangerous equipment, and that'd be safer for the employee. And you don't have to replace the employee with a robot that's programmed to do these things.
So right now we pre-program the robot so it's able to do a task that we've assigned it to do.
Yes.
So if we have this spatial computing where it's going to put digital into our environment, maybe we could control a robot with that. And
I think that, I mean, because people always talk about, oh, people are going to get replaced by robots. Well, if you integrate two great technologies like the Vision Pro and the Optimus robot, and have the employee who actually can use some quick on the spot decision making as opposed to programming something every time. Because some of these things, especially what we do, it's not a one size fits all model, right?
Correct, yes.
And parts are machined differently, they're finished differently, they're structured differently. You need to be able, as a human, to be able to make some decisions. And so it's not a one size fits all. So I think that there could be a good integration and marriage between what they're doing with the Vision Pro at Apple and what Tesla's doing with the robots. And that way somebody doesn't have to be replaced by a robot because they're using their skill sets, but they're using the physical aspects of the robot doing the work, which I think in manufacturing would be
definitely much safer.
Fantastic.
Right.
And then the robot could also, with its opticals, can capture information like the temperature, the times, and everything else, because it's all pre-programmed, right? So I think there's a lot of potential here by merging two technologies into one.
And not even robots. So with manufacturing, we like to set up our area so that we're most efficient.
Yes.
If we could do this without actually having equipment there,
yes,
and we could do this visually,
yes,
and see how everything will work, and then do it,
yes,
so much better than doing it on paper or trying to figure out what's going on in the computer.
Absolutely.
To see what's going on in the shop. Now we can do it with a computer. That'd be great.
No,
it would help us out with.
Yeah.
And,
but I agree with you. And I was going back to the harsh environments, right? When we were in our old shop, we were in a very harsh environment, right? Hottest temperature in that case
moving chemicals.
Yeah, moving chemicals, 160 degrees, moving sulfuric acids, nitric acids. In a machine shop, dealing with stamping machines, laser cutting machines, accidents can happen. Right. But if you're dealing with the Optimus robot and the Vision Pro at the same time, where the robot is actually doing physical work, you've eliminated a huge environmental hazard for a human being to be in dangerous situations.
Oh yeah,
so
most definitely.
I think that's those.
I'll throw a robot in the tank to grab a part.
I think Cook at Apple and Elon at Tesla need to connect and talk about merging these two things, because I think for manufacturing it'd be awesome. And of course, if everybody buys into it, then the price point starts coming down too.
That's good.
Yeah,
everyone's buying into it. And
It doesn't have to be just for entertainment purpose. I think there's an industrial. I know that Apple's looking at this from an entertainment perspective.
They are, and I'd love to watch a movie on this thing. Yes, it sounds like it's incredible.
Yeah, the other thing is with the Vision Pro, if you're using tablets, this is digitized, using tablets, or you're using QR code scanners, now you can use that to lift the screens, because you can be in your environment. You could lift the screen of your ERP system or MES system, the software you're using, and you have it's like having a huge large screen TV in front of you, basically.
Oh, I've heard that you can do multiple screens too, and have different things going on.
And you touch it, with your hands and virtually.
Have you ever seen a Minority Report?
Yes.
Oh, so I love that in the beginning where he's doing all these things.
Yes.
And that's what we'd be doing with our glasses on.
Yes. I think that'd be fantastic. I think for manufacturing, it'd be definitely. That's why we're in the Manufacturing Vanguard podcast, right? It's on the leading edge, and I believe that's going to be coming. So we'll see that. Well, that's a great topic. Now, Randy, we're going to go ahead and transition now to our interview coming up next. But before that, we're going to have a brief, momentary.
I haven't even drank much of this.
You haven't try it. So we're going to be introducing this. You're going to be seeing on your screen in just a moment. Mastery's Brewing Company and their location. And we encourage you to go there. They have also some great food there that they produce, along with their IPAs that they do in their brews. But this was really good.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
like this.
All right, cheers. We'll see you in a bit.
Yeah.
Bye. Well, welcome to our very first guest, Chet Halonen from Steelhead Technologies. We wanted to start this very first podcast with an interview with somebody who's on the leading edge of some new software technology when it comes to an ERP. And Chet, welcome to our very first podcast, the MVP.
Andrew, yeah, thank you very much. Randy, good to see you again. It's always great to connect with the two of you and everyone there at Veterans Metal. Very honored to be your first distinguished guest on the MVP, Andrew, your new podcast initiative here. This will be a great time.
Thanks. Well, listen, we definitely want to invite you because Steelhead is relatively new to the industry, right? And you compare it to some other companies out there software-wise. And not only is it new to the industry, but when it comes to manufacturing, it's very focused on metal finishing, which is something that's been lacking in manufacturing when it comes to software. Can you tell us a little bit about how Steelhead Technologies helps solve some of the challenges in metal finishing?
Absolutely, Andrew. You're absolutely correct there. We are designed and built specifically for metal finishing. We have a team of up to 50 individuals now that were solely dedicated on the metal finishing space. So your anodizers, your platers, your powder coaters, liquid paint, anyone that takes someone else's part and provides a service or does something to it and ships that out the door. Those are the folks that we service. And you're 100% correct. And you mentioned this as you in your search for a system for this huge transformation that you just went under is where do I find someone that services only metal finishers? I don't care about a bill of materials. I don't care about a sub-assembly or assemblies and bring all that parts together like the discrete manufacturing space. So that's the space that we serve is metal finishers, and we serve metal finishers all day long. Some of the things in Steelhead that you'll see that relate to that or that you've actually used is like building out like rack assemblies. So you have a flight bar, and on that flight bar, you might have 3 dish racks and a finger rack. Well, your other softwares are not going to accommodate those sorts of nuances that happen in that metal finishing space. Some other things, maybe just a more higher level picture, would be like looking at just the environment in general. It's high mix, high variety. You might not know what's coming in the door this afternoon. Parts show up with a purchase order. So you have to that controlled chaos has to be somehow put into a system that we can use and utilize and harness the power of that system through automation and collect data from that to optimize our operations.
Yeah, a lot of the metal finishing shops, just like any other manufacturing shop, they were started pre-internet, pre-cell phone days, and they're still stuck there. And we just met recently in Tallahassee, our state capital, with our elected officials there. We reviewed the state of Florida's manufacturing status, and one of the biggest contributing factors why our output is 31st in the country is because we're still stuck in the past when it comes to technologies. Doesn't matter if it's metal finishing or just manufacturers, fabricators in general, but we're all kind of stuck way back in the day. Talk a little bit about how Steelhead is advancing technologies, because it's not just about ERP in general, because ERP has been around for a long time. What makes Steelhead Technologies kind of unique?
Yeah, so what makes us unique in that regard in terms of advancing technology is you're absolutely right. The industry has been left behind. They're operating on paper, they're operating on legacy or archaic systems. And our entire goal is not to change how our customers run their businesses. So our goal is to come in and add another layer to that business process, to that production process, to help our customers get the data that they care about to grow the business without having to add and add and add more and more personnel, more people at the problem. So in terms of advancing technology, essentially what we're doing is creating that digital twin of your environment, of your plant in Steelhead. And what that allows for then is, okay, as these parts are moving through the system, as you're processing each and every flight bar or racking these parts or masking them, packaging them, we're able to track data from that unobtrusively without having someone, okay, clock into this job, clock out, or write it down on a piece of paper. So the level of technology that we're adding to streamline that and collect data automatically, that's been huge for our customers to use in the space.
Yeah, I think what's really
It's
cool,
real
and
time.
Randy can talk a little bit about this, is the use of the QR code system, right? The QR code scanning, right? Actually capturing real information. We're both military veterans, and we know the term pencil whipping pretty
Right.
well.
Gun decking.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. And so the fact that we're using a scanner to scan QR codes, not just at the box level, but at the rack level, at the tank level. I mean, we know where the part is every step of the way, and we know how long it's been there. Can you
And
talk?
then we can take all that
Yeah.
information and actually print it out if anything does happen. We
Yes.
have all that information
Yes.
that we're able to share.
And we're able to report it from a certification perspective as
Yes.
well, Chet. That's the big aspect of it. And from a manpower perspective, we can see throughput, efficiency. I mean, there's all kinds of benefit of having a QR code digital system in place for metal finishing, being for fabricators too.
We can also replicate it very easily too.
Yes.
By having all that information, we know exactly what happened, how we can pull it out.
Now,
Same thing
now,
again.
now, Steelhead also integrates with other technologies, right? Because yeah, you're an ERP system, and that's how you're branding yourself. But you're also integrating with things that are not necessarily in your space. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's correct. So foundationally, we are in MES, I would say, so manufacturing execution system, and that is the core focus is to get our customers the data from production. So job costing, margins, rework tracking, cost of quality, things that drive the business forward. But everyone needs the rest of the system. Everyone needs the ERP capabilities, your quoting, your estimating, the shipping, the invoicing, inventory management, all that has to be tied in because it is also interconnected. So we are foundationally an MES. We do have ERP capabilities like your quoting, like your invoicing, like your shipping. But then we also do some integrations as well. So like accounting is a great example. There's professionals that have softwares that all they do is accounting. Why are we going to rewrite everything that they've done to bring that into our system? Why not just generate and create an API so that data exchange can happen? So that's one example of an integration. Other examples are like you have automated lines, and we don't have this today, but it's certainly on the product roadmap is to integrate with those machines to push and pull data to communicate with those because that's all interconnected as well. So that would be another example of a integration that we have our site set on is with the machines, the equipment, the physical pieces of equipment that are doing the processing.
That's actually something that we've thought about too. We could have scanners on each tank. It will eliminate the operator from having to scan it. It would make everything automatic and it would just go. But that's something to look at in the future. Right now, we're happy with scanning.
Well, that's why we're the MVP. We're talking about the vanguard of manufacturing, right? And I agree with Randy. Having optical scanners at every tank where it picks up the QR code automatically.
That would be great.
That increases efficiency even more. But I know you guys are definitely on the leading edge. One other thing on the leading edge, Randy and I were talking at the beginning of our podcast. One of our topics was cybersecurity and cyber certification that's coming down the roads. Can you talk a little bit about how Steelhead is looking and approaching security and the cyber certification that's going to eventually have to happen?
Yeah, 100%. So what you're talking about is the whole CMMC level 2, those initiatives, meeting that from a supplier perspective or a vendor, we need to be FedRAMP. And we need to be FedRAMP to service our customers or to help them achieve their CMMC level 2 status. So as you're well aware, we're still in the public comment period. There's still stuff that's changing. The goalposts are always moving. I think later this year, we'll hopefully have some more clarity of what that looks like. But we do have an entire team. We have a cyber team, our CEO. We have developers that are constantly monitoring those changes coming from CMMC level 2, and what do we need to provide to help our customers achieve that level of compliance. So that's something that we are heavily invested in. We realize the need for it in the metal finishing industry specifically. I mean, so many of the parts that you process, that our customers process, end up going on airplanes or tanks or stuff for the DoD, missiles. Extremely critical stuff to the government, and of course they have to crack down on cyber. We don't want other countries getting access to that information, and all of us are part of that picture. The challenge is that that picture is still being painted.
Right.
And we all have to do our best to stay up to date on what's happening there.
Right.
But yeah, rest assured, we are investing heavily in that space. And when it comes time to, okay, you need to be FedRAMP to serve these CMMC level 2 customers, we'll be there.
That's fantastic, and I really like the approach that you guys are taking. One of the things that kind of is related to that, and I know you guys will ramp up the security for that as well, is you guys are putting out a new customer portal. And
Hmm.
I remember talking to our customers 2 years ago because I wanted the pizza ordering app
Right.
for our
So where
customers.
everything is.
And I talked to Chet about this 2 years ago too. I said, I want my customers to be able to go to log in to a website and know where their order is, because we get so many phone calls about, where are my parts, right? Or
Hmm.
I get a copy of my cert and things like that. You guys just put out the new version of the customer portal. And I think eventually what I envision, I hope you guys are looking at this, is enhancing that portal to where they can upload their quote requests too, because that's
Hmm.
where cyber comes in. One of the biggest vulnerabilities that we have is email, right?
Hmm.
Getting CUI, controlled unclassified information, through email is a big no-no when it comes to trying to get certified, right? And so you have to be able to control that information. So we're hoping that you and others that have MES systems are going to be looking at that. And I'm sure you will be. The fact that you did a customer portal is a big step forward. Then it's a matter of figuring out, how do we leverage cloud.gov? How do we make sure the customers can upload their CUI through the portal instead of using email, which then you're in compliance at that point?
Yeah, that customer portal that you're talking about, Andrew, it's not anything new, but it was recently revamped, and we can't wait for you to start using it. The feedback has been extremely positive. From our current customers, they're saying things like game changing, and this is one of the best updates that we've seen in Steelhead. And this is saving me 400 plus calls just from
Right.
customers looking for information. So, and then other prospects are saying, wow, this is scaring me that my competitors have access to this. Like, what do we've been trying to build this out with our custom software for years.
Yes.
And this is what my competitors have access to that are on Steelhead. So there's a ton of excitement around that customer portal. And yes, it all goes back to that communication with the customer and what that looks like.
Yeah, and having that tunnel to be able to directly communicate with the customer on a secure environment is going to be key
Hmm.
to that compliancy that we're going to be looking for, in another year or so.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, and that'll be ever changing as we talked, right? That picture still being painted, that cake still being baked. But yeah, we have our finger on that pulse.
Well, Chet, thanks a lot. Can you believe time flies really fast? And
Yeah.
we've come to the end of our interview, our very first interview for our very
Yay.
first podcast. So, Chet, we really thank you for being part of it. And we wish you and everybody at Steelhead Technologies all the best.
Andrew, thank you. Randy, thank you. I just want to say one thing. So, me looking at the transformation that you've undergone has been incredible. So, you started in the shop, and Randy described it to me at one time: low ceilings, no AC, hotter
Some of the
than
old shop, yes.
Florida in July, right?
No,
At the
no.
old shop, and now in this new shop, new equipment, automation everywhere, not only in just your ERPs and your systems,
Yes.
but in your lines, in your the processing of parts, everything.
Yeah.
And that transformation has just been incredible. We're super honored to be a part of that, and really looking forward to the future together.
Thank you. Yeah,
Great,
I think
yeah.
we're enjoying it, aren't we, Randy?
Oh, much more.
Yeah, the old place was like a cave. It was
It was actually, yes. And
It's
dark.
been it's been a
dark.
lot of fun to watch. Been a
Yeah.
lot of fun to watch the transformation and be a part of it. So
Thanks, Jet. Well,
looking
great.
forward to everything coming.
Thanks a lot. Well, all our best to everybody at Steelhead Technologies, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks,
Take
Randy.
care.
Thank
Bye
you.
Good
bye.
afternoon. Bye bye.
Well, that wraps up our first podcast. I think it went pretty well. What do you think, Andrew?
It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking about all the topics. I especially enjoyed our interview with Chet.
Mhm.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I
And the
like
fact
that.
that we're focusing on the future of manufacturing and not just talking about the past,
Mhm.
right? And one thing I wanted to mention too, as Veterans Metal is also a proud supporter and member of the Bay Area Manufacturing Association, also known as BAMA. We want to make sure everybody understands that the podcast is for everybody worldwide, any manufacturer. So if you have any questions, feel free to send it to us. If you want us to cover any topics, you can also send it to us.
Oh, actually, I have a sponsor too. I'd like to talk about Celebrate Birthdays. We're a proud sponsor of them. They make sure that every foster kid has a birthday. So it's celebratebirthdays.org.
Yeah,
I
and
wanted to throw that in there.
you're right. And as a matter of fact, they're celebrating their 5th anniversary.
Yes.
So they're trying to get to 5,000 followers. I think they have about 1,700 now, or actually no, it's 2,700. So trying to get to 5,000. So raise awareness with Celebrate Birthdays. Yeah. So we're very happy to be a supporter of Celebrate Birthdays as well. Well, I think that wraps it up, Randy.
Yeah.
So this is in the can, first episode. I'm so excited. Thank you, Christina, our producer, for putting all this together. And we're looking forward to seeing you at our next podcast. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.